for and see how that goes. See how huge the files are. Hopefully, I can upload. Um, if you guys haven't tried the link, at some point, try this link right here. You can see my screen, I assume. Yes. You can see my outline.
Full and half sections in SolidWorks. That's what
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
see
that's the
Yeah,
that's
I
the
can
one.
see it too.
Yeah. Okay, that's the one that takes you directly to the video that I did that I uploaded,
it. Okay.
and you should be able to subscribe to the channel because it shows it right
Right. I
here.
see it. Yep.
Yeah. So hopefully that'll get you in there, and I'll go back and look and see. Like I said, I might have when I created it, I might have said it was private, assuming I was going to send a link to everybody, and I just in my half asleepness last night never did in that email. But I may just go ahead and change it to a public so that everybody can see it. I mean, there's no reason probably not to, unless I get some. Like, that's the only other thing I was thinking was that I get some Yahoo that decides to start posting stupid stuff to it.
Well, I think you can shut the comments off.
Can you?
Yeah, I
But
think.
I guess I don't really want to. Sorry.
Oh no, yeah, you can shut off the comments before you upload the video. It'll have like a little box somewhere within the uploading the video portion where you can turn off the comments for that video.
So Angel, I should have you come over and give me some instruction on how to do this stuff. You sound like you know what you're doing.
I've uploaded I think maybe like 2 or 3 videos to YouTube before.
That's probably 2 or 3 more than I have because this is the only one I've done so far. Anyway, I'll hopefully get more adept at it as we go. I'm trying to do this along with updating the outline because I still don't have the outline finished past week. This is not finished yet. I haven't changed any due dates in here or anything like that for next week. So I got to work on that along with everything else. All right, let's go over the PowerPoint to a certain extent, and then I'll do some work in SolidWorks to try to show you how to do offset sectioning. I'm not, I don't even know if this stuff is accurate anymore as far as work due and all that good stuff. So the assignments again are wide open. They still have due dates on them. They'll have the regular 1 week, past being assigned due date, but they're going to be available until May 1st without any without any penalty for being late. Thank you. So it's just going to be hard for me to get it all corrected between that time and the time I got to submit the grades. So I'm hoping that everybody stays on their toes. But if they're not here for this, then they're not getting any other information anyway. So we'll see what happens. So we're going to do some half and full sections. We're going to do a full section on this round part, and then we can do this one together if you want to fire up SolidWorks, however you're able to do so. Basically this part that's shown here on the right-hand side is also on page 5-24 in the book, and I'll probably just do the offsets like it shows in the book. It's not a problem that are an exercise that you're going to have to do for an assignment, but it is there, for you to do it by hand. It just happens to be the same part, and there's, it's as good a part as any to actually practice on. So let's talk a little bit about sections. there's two sections shown here. It's asking what types of sections they are. The one on the left is not one that's used a whole lot in this manner. I mean, what it is a revolved section, and all it's doing is showing what the cross section of the part looks like. So in reality, this rectangle has a elliptical profile. So if you were to cut, if you were to see the end view of it, that's what you'd see without the, if you were to see an end view out here, you'd see this oval shape without the crosshatch in it. That would be what it looked like. So on a part something like this, it's not really necessary. But you'll see another example where it does make a difference, and you'd have to cut a bunch of sections through it anyway. I'm getting ahead of myself. This other one is, does anybody know what this one's called? If you got the PowerPoint open, or
it's like an offset.
Yeah, or an aligned. It's aligned.
Right.
Aligned. So what we're doing here is we're taking this hole, and basically when we cut through it this way, we're actually, in the section view, we're actually taking that hole and rotating it down so that it's in line with, or aligned with, the rest of the features that you're cutting through. So when you display it, it displays down here as if it were 180 degrees off this hole. So if you were to draw this line all the way across, you'd see that it hits the tangent point of the center circle right there. And it keeps you from having to create more than one section view. I'm going to turn my, hang on a second. I'm going to turn my volume down on my phone. So all my notifications are making all kinds of crazy noise. And of course, my phone is like a million years old. So actually, it's not that old. It's just an inexpensive phone. They didn't want to pay through the nose for a good phone and then have it without 5G, and then have it be worthless after a couple of years at the most. So anyway, all right. So here is where a revolve section would come in handy, because when you look at the profile of this section of this wrench, it's actually 3 different profiles. And I think this thing looks at it, yeah, it shows all 3 in this view. So what they're saying is this portion of the handle is actually square. Then it transitions to an octagon profile here. And then from there, it transitions to a circular profile. So you'd have to cut 3 different sections if you didn't revolve them inside the part like this. You'd have to cut 3 different sections if you wanted to show that, and show them out, somewhere. Show them off to the side. With a revolved, you can just basically show them inside the part itself. Can you do that in SolidWorks? Yeah, because obviously you have control of where you place the section view. So if I were to cut a section in here, say, and cut an AA here, and I pulled it out over here, it would show that square. I could drag that square back into the part and place it there, and then just kind of go on my merry way. Do the rest of them that way too. So it's a case where because you're not making a separate section, you can include the hidden lines in this view, because it's really just a view created off of this top view of the wrench. You created a front view off the top view, or vice versa. But you're just cutting the section view and placing it back into the front view. So whatever hidden lines are there can remain. So that's one kind of a exception to the rule where it's, you know, the standard says that you know, you don't show hidden lines in section views. This isn't really a true section view, so they give it some leeway. So a line section, we showed it on a round part, but you can do it also with you know, the solid features. In a case like this, where this arm is off on an angle, if you want to cut a section through it, you can do that, but you got to rotate everything down. You know, when you're cutting an aligned section like this, it basically, if you're doing it by hand, you'd have to rotate everything down like we talked about before, so that they're in line with the first part of the cut. SolidWorks does it for you automatically. You may have, you know, in the exercises, the homework assignments, you may have one problem where you might have to create an aligned section like this by hand. You just do your best. If you don't have a compass or a protractor, do your best to transfer you know, the information. You don't have to draw all these lines here, although it helps, because if you draw the arcs down to this point here and draw straight lines across, then you know where it's going to, you know, where your section view is going to end, how everything's going to line up. So the projection lines always help. Any questions on that so far?
I'm good.
Okay, we're all good. All three of you. Well, you know what? Monday we had 5 people in this class, which is a class of 8. The afternoon class was a class of 13. We had 4.
Oh boy,
you guys are doing okay. Yeah, well, I have a feeling that when we get into, like I said, probably earlier, we get into GD&T and threads and limits and fits, all of a sudden there's going to be a whole lot of people asking a whole lot of questions. Because it's if you're not comfortable with it or familiar with it, they're going to need help. So types of section here, it's called removed, and that's because the sections views themselves are not aligned with the view that you cut them in. You know, SolidWorks can, when you cut a section in SolidWorks, it drags it. When you drag it, it stays aligned with the view that you cut it from. So you have to place it. If this is the end view or the right side view, you have to actually move the right side view over and place the section view in between the right view and the front view, because that's theoretically where it belongs. If you don't have room, you can break the alignment and then move the section view down wherever you want, so that you can fit it in your drawing. So that's what they did here. They cut a section here, and then they just, instead of showing it aligned, all 3 of these aligned, A, B, and C, they just moved them down to kind of make more room. And then the one that we've got here is a partial, or they call it broken. I think SolidWorks might call it, it calls it a broken out section too. That's nomenclature that I've used for years that I just can't get out of the habit of. But it's a broken out section. And basically what you do is you just kind of create a boundary, and then you say, hey, I'm gonna cut away the material, you know, to a certain depth around this boundary, whatever that boundary is. And then you don't really have to, if there's only some, or, you know, a few features or one feature that you need to show or to dimension that's hidden, you don't need to do a whole section view. You can just do this broken out section so that you can dimension or call out the features that you need to call out without having to do a whole nother section view. So this would be the front view with this portion of it broken out and cut away so that you can see the interior. And then you just go about your business, dimensioning it like you normally would. So if a section view can't line up directly with the projection that it was removed from, then you remove it and place it in a different location, just like we just talked about. And if only part of the view needs to be sectioned out, then you do a broken out section, like I just talked about. Sectioning ribs and thin features like webs. There's kind of there's the rule of thumb, the easiest way to say it. When a cutting plane goes lengthwise through a web, you don't show section lines. So even though we're cutting through this gusset or this web, whatever you want to call it, we don't show section lines in there because section lines are usually only shown in surfaces that the cutting plane line is perpendicular to, as it were. So this base, we're perpendicular to that base. We're actually perpendicular to the back portion when we're perpendicular to this round portion here. So we show the section lines that represent this circular feature, and then also the base and the back of the part. And then, along with that, when we look at section BB, now we're cutting perpendicular to both the back section and this web. So at the elevation that we're cutting at, we show the cut and we show the section lines. So everybody understand this cut and why it looks like it does?
Not entirely, no.
Well, the deal is this: the web itself has an angular edge to it, and so does the back, right? It has an angle on both sides. So at the angle or the elevation that we're cutting at, this is all the material that we would be cutting through, is up to this point on this side, and this side. If we were to raise this cutting plane line, this thing would move in and these two would move in, they'd get smaller because we wouldn't be cutting through as much material, right? It's not as wide here as it is here. And by the same token, if we were to cut farther down, then it would get a little bit wider. So if you were to draw a projection line straight up from here, it should coincide with where the section view terminates, the section lines, and the cutaway terminates.
That makes more sense, yeah.
You see that? And the same thing, I mean, I can't do it from here, but if I were to take this cutting plane line and project it over to here, and then draw my, find my virtual sharp or corner, draw my 45, and bring this up to where that 45, where it intersects that 45-degree angled line. It would stop right about here, and then if I came across, this is where the section would terminate in this view, where the section lines would terminate. Because that would be the outline of the part. If I cut it away, that's what it would look like. And the reason these are round is because these faces are all have a radius on them that you just don't see very well. They show them here and so on and so forth. This is like a casting, so every edge is radiused. They're not sharp corners because they generally, sharp corners, especially in cast iron, promote stress. Yeah, stress cracks.
Yep.
So, so that's why they're rounded like that. Okay. At some point, somewhere I modeled this part. I was hoping to pull it up today, but I couldn't really find it because I've got stuff on Google Drive and I've got stuff on my hard drive, on my desktop. And the bad thing about Google Drive is it doesn't show you any previews or thumbnails for SolidWorks parts or drawings. So you don't have a clue what they are until you download them. So here we go. Again, that's kind of what I explained in the previous slide. So I'm not going to go back into much detail. You can take a look at it again if you want to. The parts are small, like nuts and bolts, rivets, and washers, things like that. Usually don't show the section lines. Usually just kind of show either a solid black or as cutaway without any section lines in them. Back to the P39. Basically, what I want you to do with this is get out of. Yeah, see, it's gonna. I was supposed to get a full 40 minutes today. That makes me mad. It says we're gonna end in 10 minutes. So, as far as I understood, if I schedule this meeting right away on Monday, which I did, they were gonna bypass that 10 minutes. So we'll see what happens. So the P39, I just want you guys to do the first part of it, and then I'll probably extend the due date, because if you look at today's assignments, we also have this Chapter 3 drawing project, which is a couple of an isometric and an oblique of a part that you need to draw. So I'm not foregoing this assignment. Again, you'll have the whole rest of the semester to get it done. But the practice is good for visualization. The more you do by hand, the easier time you have visualizing parts, even and drawing views that you see even in SolidWorks. So that being said, let me go to SolidWorks and see what I can pull up here. This is a D-size drawing, and I've got some parts open already. But if this is a D-size, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to Edit Sheet Format, which basically allows me to modify the title block and all this stuff. And I'm going to actually do a sketch, a couple of line sketches about the middle of the it wouldn't let me see the whole thing because this thing was in the way. And I'm going to bring a line like that. And I'm going to take this guy and I'm just going to drag him. See what's happening there? See, I can modify all that. So instead of dragging that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a extend entities. And I'm going to extend that to there, and then I'm going to extend it down to the bottom. And that stops me from changing the border or any of that other stuff. So now that I sketched in Edit Sheet Format, when I go back to Edit Sheet, I can't do anything with these lines. because they're now part of the border and the title block, but I've now divided this thing into basically four quadrants, and I can bring some parts in. They're coming in big. So that's all right. We'll change the sheet scale when we're done. So I can bring more than one part in if I want. This offset section, this is the one that we're just going to bring this guy in. And then this is the one that said you're going to do I'm going to do it, and then you're going to do. But we've kind of already demonstrated how to do full and half sections. So, and that's what that video is all about. So I was hoping I'd have time to do the work on all three of these. But instead, what I'm going to do is concentrate on this guy and see if we can get an offset done on this part before time runs out. So I'm going to go back to the View Layout tab and go to Section View. And then if I go to Aligned or Auxiliary, that doesn't really do anything for me. And I want to cut my sections this way. So I'm going to go to a vertical cutting line. And it looks like the very first place I want to start is right at this hole. And so I'm going to place my line in the center of this hole and just select it right there. And then I'm going to use one of these offsets. So then I'm going to do a single offset. Instead of, before what I did was I just said, okay, I'm just going to check okay, and then cut my section. I'd cut a full section. Well, now I want to do an offset. So this is a single offset option. I'm going to select that. And if you notice now, I've got a little dot that's showing up there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if I place that dot at some point between, I want to go to this hole. So I want to go somewhere between these two holes, place that. Now it allows me to offset the line. And then again, I'm going to go ahead and select this edge or this edge to get the center. I'm going to say that's where I want to put my line. I want my line to go through this guy. And you see now I've got a cutting plane that's got that one offset in it. So if I select OK now I get this this section, and that's the section I want. I want it to, and again, my arrows are facing to the left, so my section view has to go to the right. Let me go to the sheet properties. Notice I had to actually use this double down arrow because I didn't see properties in here anywhere. But I'm right clicking on the sheet and going to the double downs, and now this property shows up. You use it all the time. I don't know why it isn't at default. But I can change my sheet scale right here, and that should globally change everything else because I think they all came in using the sheet scale. So if I make them 1-to-1 and apply the changes, so all my parts now are 1-to-1. And if that is a, if the scale is in here, it's not. But if the scale were in here as a link to property, it would update and say now 1-to-1. Before it would have said 2-to-1. So now I can put a couple extra section views in. And the next one goes through this hole and then this hole. So again, I'm gonna do section view. I'm gonna use the same vertical cut. I'm gonna start here, go to a single offset, go down somewhere in between these two holes, go to the center of this guy, and then say okay. And now I've got section, hopefully BB. And then one more. I can't just keep going. I have to end the command and then restart the command to make all my, the 3 that I want to make here. So this time I want to go down a ways, and then I want to go to the center of this slot. And then say, okay. Now I got section CC. So now if I were to break the alignment, if I were to move this guy up, and let's say I didn't have room to fit these, or I only had room to fit 2 of them, I could, let me get out of the command. If I highlight the view and then go to alignment, again, I highlighted and then right-clicked the border alignment and say break alignment. Now I can move that view wherever I want. And that's how you would create a removed section view. If I wanted to do the other 2, I could do them as well. Are we still on?
Yes.
Okay.
Only for a few more seconds.
Is that right? Dang
Yep.
it.
I see the timer right now.
Well, this is what we're going to have to put up with until the end of next week, and then I'll start my